Welcome, everybody. College basketball action. We are down to the Elite Eight. I'm talking once again with Ross Benjamin on underdog value, which right now at this stage, we don't know if there is such a thing as underdog value because there's no wiggle room in these lines. Ross, first and foremost, I felt it yesterday when you were leaning heavy on Virginia, as I was, and buddy, you smashed it and you did a fantastic job. Once again for the viewers, let's get right into this. Villanova against Kansas. It's -2. What are your thoughts on this game? Does Nova actually, do you think, categorize themselves as an underdog?
Well, before I get to that, Mike, I got to blow my own horn too, because when we did the Sweet 16 video, I told everybody that I like Syracuse not only to cover, but win outright. They were my best bet, and they certainly came through for us. So
Sure did.
kudos to all the viewers out there who took my advice. Kansas and Villanova, what a matchup this is.
Woo.
Tremendous. I mean, Villanova, Mike, I mean, can you look any better than they have in the 3 games in this tournament?
Mm.
I mean, they're just blowing people out of the water. I mean, they're 3-0 straight up in ATS, winning by an average of 24 points per game, covering by double-digit margins, shooting the lights out. I mean, this is a Villanova team that's shooting, I think, close to 59% from the field in 3 games and averaging well over 80 points per contest. Now, they're going to get a stern test today from Kansas. Obviously, the #1 ranked team in the country. Really tough for me to fade Kansas right now. 17-0 in their last 17, 14-3 against the spread. And then if you're looking for just a little thing, and I know you like to look at this, Mike, common opponents. They have one common opponent this year. It's Oklahoma. The Sooners knocked off Villanova by a decisive 23-point margin earlier this year, while Kansas State won 2 close games versus the Sooners. If push comes to shove here, I'm going to have to lean toward the Jayhawks here. I think that they're defensively, they're capable of at least neutralizing Villanova's perimeter game. I just think that they're better on the boards as well, more experienced team in my opinion. Very small lean here toward the Kansas Jayhawks.
Yeah, this is a tough game to handicap. And I was telling a few of my friends, I was in bed last night at 1 in the morning and just tossing and turning thinking of this Villanova, Kansas. I grew up and I'm born in Philadelphia. Villanova is my team. They've been my whole life. But I learned early on in this business, Ross, and I'm sure you might be able to relate to this, to separate my heart from my head, because at the end of the day in this business, for me and you as well, it's about units, it's about money, it's about ROI. And it's just a tough one because these are two very skilled coaches. And like you said, you touched on, these two teams, I think without a doubt, have done the best performance so far in this tournament. All right, they are manhandling opponents. I mean, I know Kansas had a battle yesterday, but Nova has just been absolutely clicking on all cylinders. And my hat is off to Jay Wright and Bill Self from Kansas. I look for this to be a fantastic game, but at the end of the day, when it's all over, I'm right there with you. I'd have to put a lean on Kansas. And I like the comparison with Oklahoma. That tells me a lot how they play each other, because some teams just don't match up as well as others, and you know that also. What do you think, though, as far as possibly Villanova getting off to an early lead and Kansas maybe going into not panic mode, but come from behind mode?
Well, I don't think Kansas will panic, and that's very much a possibility. If you look at Villanova and their last 2 games, especially against Iowa, and in their last game, they just blew teams out of the water in the first half, and just had an insurmountable lead and just too difficult to come back against. I just think Kansas is a much more poised team than they faced thus far in the tournament. Veteran team, and I don't think that'll have as much a bearing as we saw early on in the tournament with Villanova's opponents.
And I like the way you just said that, because that's what I was kind of leaning to, Villanova just blowing them out early. And it's mind-boggling at times, because when they get hot, they get hot. It's going to be one for the ages, that's for sure, my man. Okay, the second one, Oklahoma. Now, I had locked them in on my own personal account earlier at +2. Now it's +1.5, so there's a lot of money that's moving around. Again, Oklahoma taking on Oregon. Break this one down, Ross, and where do you think the edge might lie?
Well, Mike, you know that I'm a technical handicapper by nature, but sometimes when it gets to this point of the season, I throw all that kind of
Yep.
stuff out the window, and I just have to rely on my professional intuition and my personal eye test. Uh, my heart says, Oklahoma, four returning starters. They've been playing with each other for the last 4 years, vast amount of experience, and we both know that pays a lot of dividends at this point of the season. And I'm pretty sure you factored that into your Oklahoma play. I just look at Oregon and how they've looked the last two games against St. Joe's, who really put them through a stern test. And as I alluded to in a prior video, I thought that that was going to pay dividends for them in challenges that lie ahead. And it certainly has. I mean, the bottom line here is this Oregon team, I think that they're just better overall defensively. And what I mean by that, they're more diverse defensively, where they can come at you in waves. The 2-3 press that they put up, they pressure you all over the court. Their movement, their legs are constantly moving defensively, and they have a better shot blocking ability in the interior. And I just like the way they're playing right now. I'm going to have a lean here toward the Oregon Ducks against the Oklahoma Sooners. It's a real two tough calls there, Mike.
Yeah, and in this one, Ross, I had, I've used Oklahoma several times throughout the year, and I've alluded to the exact fact that you said, all right, you got four guys that have started over 100 games together. Okay, that bodes very well for cohesiveness. They know where each other is on the floor, and Oregon does not have that same consistency, but Oregon is playing fantastic ball. They've been quietly under the radar. When they got that number one seed, a lot of people said it was undeserved. Well, guess what? They have done nothing but prove that, yes, it was deserved. However, for me, I think their ship stopped sailing today. In doing my research, Ross, I found out, and again, I know it's a neutral site, but when Oregon went on the road this year against some opponents that weren't that good, they got pounded. I mean, UNLV pounded this team. Stanford beat them by 2. California destroyed them by 20. Colorado beat the dog crap out of them by 14. And Oregon State, all right, that's the in-state rival. I think if you're not ready for that game, at least not in it, then there's something wrong when you move down the road. And this is what I might be 100% wrong, but Oregon State owned them, beat them by 13. But what really was the key factor for me was the fact that the way Boise State beat this team. So today, I know it's a neutral site, but when Oregon leaves home, they're not the same team, and I know they've done very well the last two games, but I think the experience of Oklahoma will get into their heads today, and I think Oklahoma's going to get this victory. Again, that's just my call on that, but I looked at
could I retort to that a little
absolutely,
bit? Let's
please do.
Yeah, the three neutral site games in the NCAA tournament, then you go back to the three neutral site games in the Pac-12 tournament as well, which culminated with a 31-point blowout win in the Pac-12 championship game against a pretty good Utah team. So, yeah, your points are all well taken, but I think that, in my opinion, and you make all valid points, Mike. I mean, it's and certainly some genuine concerns in regards to anybody who's back in Oregon today. There's a vast difference between a neutral court site game like this one, especially being played out west in close proximity to where their campus is, in comparison to Oklahoma, as opposed to playing in a raucous environment on the road. This is also an Oregon team that's won their last 11 games in a row. So, again, just a small retort in response to your valid points.
Well, then that was a very valid retort, absolutely, because a neutral site is certainly not your opponent's home court. And again, it's just my thinking. I think that maybe something will happen today on that road with the experience of Oklahoma. But again, that's why they play the game. But you and I, as fans, we're in for a treat, and this is going to be a nice evening to pop a cold one or have a nice glass of vino and kick back and enjoy it as a fan. Okay, viewers, Villanova against Kansas and Oklahoma against Oregon. A small lean on Oregon from Ross Benjamin, and if I'm correct, a small lean on Villanova. Is that correct, Ross?
Small lean on Kansas.
A small lean on Kansas. Excuse me for that. It's March Madness is finally catching up with me, Ross. I mean, and I'm sure you can relate. It's absolutely been crazy.
100% understood, and I concur.
Okay. Well, viewers, cash your tickets today. We wish you the best. Beat your book and build your bank. Ross, thanks so much, my friend. Have a great night. Have a profitable night, and I look forward to talking to you again real soon.